Hello viewers, welcome to Big Man Business YouTube channel. Here is another informative episode of our regular series on countries' top imports and exports commodities. In this video, we're going to be talking about Portugal's top imports and exports. Keep watching, we got you fully covered. Formerly the Portuguese Republic, Portugal exported $61.5 billion worth of goods around the globe in 2020. That dollar amount reflects an 11.1% increase since 2016 but a minus 8.3% downtick from 2019 to 2020. Applying a continental lens, almost 4/5 or 79.1% of Portugal exports by value were delivered to fellow European countries while 6% were sold to North American importers. Portugal shipped another 5.7% worth of goods to Africa. Smaller percentages of 5.6% also went to Asia, Latin America excluding Mexico but including the Caribbean got 2.1% then. Oceania led by Australia got 0.3%. If you're new to the Big Man Business YouTube channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell to receive updates on new business expert videos. For more international business news and updates, please visit www.bigmanbusiness.com. Portugal's top trading partners. Here is a list showcasing 15 of Portugal's top trading partners, countries that imported the most Portuguese shipments by dollar value during 2020. Also shown is each import country's percentage of total Portuguese exports. Spain with $15.7 billion accounts for 25.5% of total Portuguese exports. France with $8.3 billion accounts for 13.5%. Germany with $7.3 billion accounts for 11.8%. The United Kingdom with $3.5 billion accounts for 5.7%. The United States with $3.1 billion accounts for 5%. Italy with $2.7 billion accounts for 4.4%. The Netherlands with $2.3 billion accounts for 3.7%. Belgium with $1.4 billion accounts for 2.3%. Angola with $994.3 million account for 1.6%. Poland with $835.7 million account for 1.4%. Brazil with $833.6 million account for 1.4%. Switzerland with $751.5 million account for 1.2%. Morocco with $723 million account for 1.2%. Sweden with $708.7 million account for 1.2%. China with $653.7 million account for 1.1%. Roughly 4/5 or 80.9% of Portuguese exports in 2020 were delivered to the above 15 trade partners. Switzerland went up by 7.8% and Sweden, which went up by 6.5%, was the only top importers that increased purchases of Portugal's exports from 2019 to 2020. Among the other top countries, declines ranged from a minimum of -0.4% for Brazil up to a -28.3% annual contraction for Angola. Portugal's top 10 imports. Located along southwestern Europe's coastline, Portugal's imported products cost $77.5 billion in 2020. That dollar amount reflects a -13.4% decrease since 2016 but a 14.1% uptick from 2019 to 2020. Based on the average exchange rate for 2020, Portugal uses the euro, which appreciated by 3.1% against the US dollar since 2016 and increased by 2% from 2019 to 2020. The stronger EU currency made Portugal's imports paid for in weaker US dollars relatively more expensive when converted starting from euros. From a continental perspective, almost 4/5 or 79.2% of Portugal's total imports by value in 2020 were purchased from fellow European countries. Asian trade partners supplied 11% of imports purchased by Portugal. Smaller percentages of 4.3% came from Africa, Latin America with 3.3% excluding Mexico and the Caribbean. North America contributed 2.1%, then Oceania added 0.05% led by New Zealand and Australia. Given Portugal's population of 10.3 million people, its total $77.5 billion in 2020 imports translates to roughly 7,600% in yearly product demand from every person in the Southwest European country. The following product groups represent the highest dollar value in Portugal's import purchases during 2020. Also shown is the percentage share each product category represents in terms of overall imports into Portugal. Vehicles with $8.4 billion account for 10.9% of total imports. Electrical machinery, equipment with $7.6 billion account for 9.8%. Machinery including computers with $7.2 billion accounts for 9.3%. Mineral fuels including oil with $6.7 billion account for 8.6%. Plastic articles with $3.8 billion account for 4.8%. Pharmaceuticals with $3.2 billion account for 4.2%. Iron, steel with $2.4 billion account for 3.1%. Fish with $1.9 billion account for 2.4%. Other chemical goods with $1.9 billion account for 2.4%. Optical, technical, medical apparatus with $1.8 billion account for 2.3%. Portugal's top 10 imports accounted for 3/5 or 60.4% the overall value of its product purchases from other countries. Imports under the aircraft and spacecraft category went up by 190.9%. Had the sole increase from 2019 to 2020? Declines among the top 10 import categories ranged from -2% for electrical machinery and equipment up to -16.5% for iron and steel. Portugal's top 10 exports. A Southwest European nation sharing its eastern border with Spain and its western coastline with the Atlantic Ocean, Portugal shipped $61.5 billion worth of goods around the globe in 2020. That dollar amount reflects an 11.1% increase since 2016 but a -8.3% downtick from 2019 to 2020. Based on the average exchange rate for 2020, Portugal uses the euro, which appreciated by 3.1% against the US dollar since 2016 and increased by 2% from 2019 to 2020. The stronger EU currency made Portugal's exports paid for in stronger US dollars relatively more expensive for international buyers. From a continental perspective, 79.1% of Portugal's exports by value were delivered to fellow European countries while 6% were sold to North American importers. Portugal shipped another 5.7% worth of goods to Africa. Smaller percentages of about 5.6% also went to Asia. Latin America excluding Mexico but including the Caribbean got 2.1% then. Oceania led by Australia got 0.3%. The latest available country-specific data shows that 77.5% of products exported from Portugal were bought by importers in Spain with 25.5% of the global total, France with 13.5%, Germany with 11.8%, the United Kingdom with 5.7%, the United States with 5%, Italy with 4.4%, the Netherlands with 3.7%, Belgium with 2.3%, Angola with 1.6%, Poland with 1.4%, Brazil with 1.4%, and Switzerland with 1.2%. Given Portugal's population of 10.3 million people, its total $61.5 billion in 2020 exported goods translates to roughly $6,000 for every resident in the Southwest European country. The following export product groups represent the highest dollar value in Portuguese global shipments during 2020. Also shown is the percentage share each export category represents in terms of overall exports from Portugal. Vehicles with $8.6 billion account for 13.9% of total exports. Electrical machinery, equipment with $5 billion account for 8.2%. Machinery including computers with $4 billion account for 6.5%. Plastic articles with $3.2 billion account for 5.1%. Mineral fuels including oil with $2.9 billion account for 4.6%. Knit or crochet clothing, accessories with $2.1 billion account for 3.4%. Furniture, bedding, lighting, signs, prefabricated buildings with $2 billion account for 3.2%. Paper items with $1.9 billion account for 3.1%. Optical, technical, medical apparatus with $1.8 billion account for 2.9%. Footwear with $1.8 billion account for 2.9%. Portugal's top 10 exports accounted for 54% of the overall value of its global shipments. Optical, technical, and medical apparatus was the lone gainer among the top 10 export categories, up by 2.2% from 2019 to 2020. The leading decliner among Portugal's top 10 export categories was mineral fuels, including oil, thanks to its minus 30.2% drop year over year. In terms of macroeconomics, Portugal's total exported goods account for 18.1% of its overall GDP in 2020, with $339.9 billion in purchasing power parity US dollars. In 2020, exports will account for 18.1% of total GDP in PPP terms, down from 21.8% the previous year. Based on a fairly short duration, this appears to show a significantly diminishing reliance on products sold on overseas markets for Portugal's entire economic success. The unemployment rate is another important measure of a country's economic performance. According to the International Monetary Fund, Portugal's unemployment rate was 7.1% in December 2020, up from an average of 6.105% in 2020. Lisbon is the capital of Portugal. Thanks for watching this video. We are open to suggestions. Kindly drop your comments in the comment box and don't forget to subscribe to the Big Man Business YouTube channel. See you in the next video.